full speed ahead on preparation for Syracuse and our opportunity this weekend. Coming off, a solid performance against Wake Forest, where we felt that we took some really good steps from a defensive standpoint, run the football amongst other things, and put together a really strong second half, primarily in the fourth quarter. And we're on to the next one right now. Looking forward to playing a really good football team that's one of the top offenses in the country. I don't think their defense gets enough credit. They're top 3 in our conference from a pass defense standpoint. I don't think their running back gets enough credit. And I think their coach has done a really good job. Coach Brown has put together a really good staff and put together some really good players and developing that roster. So, questions, please.
You alluded to it, but they are much more than just a quarterback. People see the quarterback numbers, I think they get very confused. Just what jumps out offense. You've got a ton of depth at receiver, tight end obviously very good, running back, like you said, is elite.
Running back's a really good player. I mean, he's a lot like what we faced this last week. He's bigger, he's strong. Just a one cut, make you miss and go guys. He does not go down easily. He's complemented by a very big offensive line. Really physical. I know that we were just studying their interior right before coming in. They get some good knockbacks, some good push to the line of scrimmage. And they get the ball out in space as well. They use him in the screen game really well. And obviously they use number 19. We know him, right? Local guy that's got a great history of playing high school football down here, family history as well. But they use cats in so many different ways. 11 personnel, 12 personnel. But he's got great players beside him. 2's a great player. 82's a great player. 7, 5. I could go on and on and on. So all in all, their success isn't by accident. They're very efficient. They are a team that plays really hard. And in the dome, I believe they're 5-1, so they defend home territory, home turf really well. So really good football team.
And because you're playing in the dome, do you utilize the IPF more this week?
We split time inside and outside, just like being on the grass. I mean, there's nothing like playing and practicing on the grass. It's just always gets better on the body. But we'll use it, and certainly it'll be allowed. And expecting just a great college football atmosphere. So all the amenities that we use to prepare for those away trips, for those road games that have that type of an environment, we'll use it in the IPF. But we also have ways to do that outside.
Is there any of the games you guys have played this year that you can sort of look back to in terms of trying to prep for the offense you're about to face this weekend?
Well, there's always some type of carryover. They're uniquely, they're just different. They're different because of the personnel they have and the way they use them. I mean, they lead the country in contested catches. In fact, 3 of the 4 wide receivers are the top 3 contested catch receivers in the country. So it's not just a play design, it's really good players going up and high pointing the ball and making tough catches with just great body control. But they'll get in loaded sets as well. They can get big in a hurry and get, 12 personnel in there and a 3rd tight end as well, and get downhill in the running game behind some of their big offensive linemen. So, and they play complementary football really well. They show them the ability to really flip the field with their punter, but also, change the complexion of the game with their return game. They've got some really good returners. They use their better athletes on all the return and all the specialty units as well. So, just again, really good football team.
Mario did a good job this year of seeing what's in front of you and not thinking big picture. Mm-hmm. When the big picture is so close, though, knowing what's on the line, the opportunity to go to the ACC title game, does it change this week? Do you have to mention that? Is that on the mindset? Do you want guys to embrace the fact that a win puts you there?
Well, I think just the college football landscape has helped us with that, because every week you watch somebody, right, focusing on the big picture and stumbling. I mean, it's hard to, when was the last time you've seen so many top 25 teams just week by week by week, succumb to whatever be media pressure, right, program expectations or whatnot. So it's almost like our process has been really good for us, so our guys believe it, they regurgitate it, they flat out speak it and live it before we even get to them. And I think probably the best way to put it is, like our team, like in our team meeting, the clear understanding is this is not, this is Miami against Syracuse. This is not Cam Ward against Common Core. This is not Gadsden's records versus Restrepo's records. This is not a Keem Mesidor-Bain sack record against Fidel Diggs, you know. This is Miami against Syracuse in the most important game of the year, you know. So the want-to-know process of mentality continues.
So you didn't have to, I guess, to be clear, you don't have to mention that. It's not something that's discussed like, hey, what's on the line? Is that something you don't address with the players? Or
I'm not sure.
Meaning, you know, this is a game where you win, you're in the ACC championship game. It's an opportunity that you guys have worked for all year long.
I would say that just the posturing of our words are very different, you know, just we don't talk much in ifs, you know what I mean? We address things more in absolutes, like this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to do it, this is how we're going to approach it. Like hypotheticals and maybes and probably are just not part of the dialect, you know, when we're approaching, you know, a contest.
Mario, recruiting calendar has kind of moved up this year with Homecoming Day being middle of next week, which comes obviously right at the end of the regular season, and ideally you guys will be playing for or preparing for another game next week. How do you guys approach the early signing period? How do you balance game prep and recruiting?
Well, and I'll respectfully answer the question. Every ounce of focus is on playing Syracuse. You know, the other balance stuff, you know how we go. We don't stop, but there's no talk about really anything else right now in the building while we do attend to all the responsibilities of recruiting.
And then
I hope that answers it, you know.
yeah.
I just,
And then with Fran Brown, you've been in a situation where you're taking over a program after some nifty season. He's obviously had a lot of success at Syracuse doing that this year. How difficult is it to come into a new program, take it over, and have that kind of success in your one?
yeah, well, I mean, every program has a different starting point. It's all relative to the starting point. You know, sometimes guys walk in and turn key operations, and sometimes it's, man, you know, you have to uproot and destroy the foundation and lay a new one. So it's all different. In their case, I'm not sure from a background standpoint. All I know is that Coach Brown and his coaches have done a great job supplementing that roster with really, really high level talent. And they brought them together and so they're doing schematically what really fits them. And they've excelled, you know, and they've excelled. And certainly if you look at the scores of their games, they were in a position to win every single game that they played this year.
With respect to, it is just about Syracuse this week. Don't yell, I'm going to take a second swing, because I want to ask you about recruiting as well, just wrong. The earlier signing date, what does that do to assist teams instead of everything being compressed towards the middle and end of December? Is that a game changer, good or bad, or is it just cosmetic, just that's something they did just to make it look better?
I mean, there's always last second flips, you know, that are tied into every signing day. I don't know if they're really last second. Does that make sense? You know, it's like almost, it's like cramming for a test. If you haven't been doing what you're supposed to do all along, it's probably not going to look exactly right. You might get lucky. You might, you know, hit a home run on it. But, I mean, recruiting is a marathon. It is a relentless, every single day, every second that you're not game planning and working with your players and being with your players, you have to spend on that. You have to, you know, I mentioned earlier today, I had a chance on the radio to mention that, I mean, if you can't identify and recruit, your value to a college football program is very little. It just is. And I'm talking about everybody in the building. I mean, from your people in development, your people in recruiting, your people in academics. I mean, it's always going to be about the people, always. And the identification process is even more important than the recruiting process, right? Because you could recruit your butt off. If you recruit your butt off and bring in all the wrong ones, you're going to be in worse shape than ever. So, in other words, it never stops.
You were part of a classic game up there in '92.
Was.
What do you recall? I mean, 16 to 10, people look at the score and nothing really happened. That was really
Oh, that was
that game. What do you remember?
Loud. I remember getting to the team hotel and there was a contingent of fans that just, you know, they made it uncomfortable for us upon arrival. And I remember they had really good players. They had a really good defensive end. I remember not being able to hear and trying to look at the ball and trying to get off at the same time and block that absolute monster of a defensive end they had. And I remember, I believe it was Gedney getting tackled at the 3-yard line and time expiring. That's what I remember. Great game, great football team, physical. Yep, we got all those crazy pictures. Man.
Mario, DeAndre Hill didn't play last game. Is everything okay with him?
He's good. He's good. Rotation wise, there's really, I don't think there's anything to it. Just it ended up being like it ended up being. You know, he's a really good player. He's going to play for us. You'll see him this week.
I know you addressed this on Joe's show this morning too, but do you have any more clarity on whether sometimes we have?
Well, we have complete clarity on Ryan Rodriguez. You know, he's there, like he's playing. And then we were right there with both Damari and Elijah, and I think we'll have more clarity by tomorrow.
Cam, how do you think Mario Cam has handled the looks week to week? He's such a focus for the opposing team on what he does. How do you think he's handled the changes, different looks, different things defense is giving him, not giving him?
That's a good question. See, I think you know, even though it's not flashy, or fun to look at or exciting, this past week he handled those looks about as well as you could handle it. You know, when people start playing, you know, I like to refer to it as umbrella coverage, right? They're backing up and you've got a decision to make. You have leverage for a throw, but the guy's kind of in no man's land, like in purgatory, halfway in, halfway out, and you can play the run, and it might have a jam tied to it, so you could whiff on the run if you hand it off, and if you throw it, you may have missed on a big run. So I think he did a great job in that cat and mouse game. I also think he did a great job checking us and putting us in protections that allowed him to be protected and get the ball off. The one sack was an RPO where an alignment really, it made it difficult. That's like man, it's hard to even get to that kind of rep in practice. It was really wide. It was the backside of a gap scheme. There's no way the tackle could know he's protecting that. There's no way for Cam to really make an adjustment when he saw what he had to the boundary, which I'm sure you guys saw the route concept over there. So I guess to answer your question, he's really, really done a great job. And he is all about getting pushed and doing better.
What was the philosophy? Was it just time to score on the split? Was it something you just wanted to see? You should be it later? What? The split?
Well, we certainly didn't have success on one of our earlier kickoffs and weren't quite sure that we were ready to kick it deep again and that we were airtight in how we're going to do that. And then when you look at it, and we looked at it on the iPad and we felt like we couldn't get there, and we did on the next kickoff. We certainly, and it was the exact same scheme, the exact same, just about ball placement, with more physicality and more discipline by the safeties. We really crowded, we almost overlapped the front line when we covered it. And if you do that with your safeties, they have to be on point, they have to be right, they have to be perfect. If not, there's no, just the distribution of your tacklers and the leverages are off. And all of a sudden there's a giant hole and we didn't leverage the ball. You know, in fact, we let it spit and the contained guy wasn't physical enough and didn't set the edge well enough, and then all of a sudden, you know, they went. So. But we've worked on it before. We've done it before. Not a ton. We have a couple different ways to get to it. We feel better about it.
Similar to the question about Deani, I think I saw Tyler Barron had only 3 snaps. Is he banged up, or is that the rotation a little bit?
No, not banged up. That's just the way the coaches chose to do the rotation.
Gotcha. And then you talked about him on and off throughout the year, but Dylan Day hasn't played a ton on defense, but he's made some big plays on special teams. Forces the fumble on the kickoff return. How has he progressed during the season, and how does that excelling on special teams help him for the future?
He's going to be a great player. He's really close to being in that rotation. Like he is right there. And we have confidence to play him now in the rotation. Should his number be called. His play on special teams has been nothing short of spectacular. He's been a game changer, and I think we've all, over the years at Miami, we've all seen how great special teams players end up becoming great every down players, and he's on track to do that.
What's it mean to you that you have concept not to compare years 1 and 2 to this, but, and I know you're going to say it's not fully built, but the kid could play, he played. Like you didn't have the ability to hold. You didn't have this sort of depth where kids who could play weren't playing, you had to play them. What's that say about where you are in the process of building that you do have that sort of depth?
Progress, progress. I would say it's working its way there. We'd like to develop more depth in the secondary, at all spots, excuse me. But I do see a really bright future for, our young guys play a lot. We play them in all different kinds of ways. You guys saw Jordan Lyle really had a day, and Lofton's had his moments. I think by the end of this year, if we take care of business, we should have more freshmen All-Americans in the last 2 years than just about anybody. That would be a testament to recruiting the right guys, developing them the right way, and then granting them the opportunities that they earn. So, but I think Dylan Day's a great example of that, and I do think that our depth is good. So
Overall, how would you assess the defense's performance, allowing just 7 points? After kind of struggling in the week's prior.
yeah, I don't think many defenses allowed 7 points this past weekend, and the first drive was certainly something that was not positive. We blew they call it the sore route, right, where they got to pass that off on the back, and the safety takes the post, and the corner fluffs off, right. So after that, really the pick six turned things around. I mean, we went over it this morning as a team because it's important for the offense to know too. The offense was kind of sputtering a little bit, and all of a sudden for 9 successive drives, I believe 4 to 5 of them were 3-and-outs, 2 of them were 4-and-outs, and another one what I believe was a turnover or whatnot in the last drive of the game. But 9 straight possessions without a score. 3 of those were on the plus side, right? One at our 30-yard line after the fumble, 2 at the 40-something. That's really, really hard to do. And I believe Wake Forest was averaging well over 20 points a game, 24, 28 points a game. So tremendous turnaround in communication, alignment, and assignment. We leveraged the ball well, we communicated well and lined up. And we played fast and we played free. And certainly a step towards what we want to be as a defense.
When you have a kid like Jordan Love and the talent is oozing out of his ears, what is your message to them about patience and waiting their turn when they're 19 and 20?
Well, we tell them, instead of wait your turn, make your turn. Take all that talent and approach it like a professional. I think Jordan has, and OJ has as well. There's a lot of guys that are young that probably have equal talent or close to it. The approach of those two, Elijah Lofton, a guy like Francis Mainoa, last year, Ruben Bain, they kind of take an extra step. They push it to another level as it relates to just being mature. So instead of telling them to be patient, we tell them make a way. Make it difficult on us. Play so well, practice so well that you have to be played. And this last week and a half, that's what Jordan Lyle did. 2 weeks before that, 3 weeks before that, AJ did that as well. So guys that are showing it, they're getting their opportunities.
All right, follow up on the defense question. Just this week, it's a little different of a challenge. Obviously, you have a quarterback. I don't know if there's anyone in the country who throws it more than he does this season. As a defense, how do you approach that, knowing that you're going to be challenged early, often, and that's kind of their game style and plan?
Sure. Well, the first thing is, you'd hate to talk about game plan, publicly as you prepare for them, but you really study the people that have had success against them, right? When you have accurate passers that have a good offensive line and they get the ball out and have a good running back, you can't be overly static, right? You have to be able to do things that make them get off of their schedule, right? Get off of their blueprint a little bit and get them out of sync. So when you study him as a passer, you realize that this guy Kyle McCord is really, really good at getting to his second and third read in the progression. You start to realize that he keeps plays alive and extends plays by just having great pocket presence and moving around. So you study all the things he does well and just try to find the things that have given him some problems, and you put it together. But I don't know how to answer that question without just diving into what we're going to do schematically. But we just recognize the fact he's a really good player.
A couple more. I would
It seems
imagine, I would imagine that, because he's a first-year guy, do you have much of a relationship with Frank? Do you know him other than?
No, we had a chance to meet at the media conferences or whatnot. We don't really get much social time in life, period. So I don't know how social we are as human beings with all the crazy responsibilities we have, but he certainly has had a really good track record developing his position groups, and now as a head coach, really already he's up to 8 wins in his first year.
Seems like this might just be confirmation bias on my part that officials are calling OPI on those rub routes more frequently. I know you guys have been with them a couple times. I've seen a bunch in other games. I guess, is it on, the receiver to not make sure they're not looking like they're running a pick, or is it, you think maybe the rule needs to be changed a little bit or applied a little differently? So what do you think about that overall?
You just can't run into the guy. You got to avoid it. You got to avoid it. It's really got to be part of the route to have contact and not be OPI. It's just it's too easy to execute a pick play. It is. So, do you get frustrated with it? Of course. You'd love for that to be a touchdown and not what it is, but it's going to be called. It's being called most of the time. And so I think that's going to always be a difficult one. I think for the most part, the conference has allowed people to play. There's been some physical play and yanking and tugging on both sides, and sometimes you're going to end up on the great side and sometimes on the not so great side of that stuff. So that's kind of where we're at that, you know.
I know the pre-snap stuff, complicated Saturday.
It did.
But where are you overall with the discipline right now? Are you pretty good with the way the first 11 games?
We really practice the right things. We work at it. The players themselves preach it. They do it. Those things were absolute killers on Saturday. They were. You know, we had 2 of those, right? We had something we hadn't had all year, an alignment mistake, right? After running counter for, I believe, 9 yards, we're going to have first and or second and 1 down deep, and all of a sudden we're back and we end up throwing a pick on that particular drive. So the 2 illegal procedures, the illegal procedure in the holding knocked us back 15 yards before half, which we ended up kicking a field goal from the 7-yard line, right? So there's some more real estate that we could have had. That discipline part that'll be the bridge between our ending up in field goals in the red zone and making those things touchdowns. And that was a big point of emphasis this morning in our meeting. So you gotta have it.
Favorite thing to eat on Thanksgiving?
Favorite thing to eat? I don't know. Gosh. I'll go with picadillo. There we go. Yeah, I know, we have practice and all that stuff. So it'll be tough, but we'll make sure that the guys do have a good meal on Wednesday night, and a little bit on Thursday, and we'll hop on a plane and get out there on Friday, and get a chance to walk through the dome, and so they can see the new, different kind of environment, go play ball.
Guys are going to see snow?
Are they gonna see snow?
It sounds like from the bus to the building, it sounds like this.
And believe it or not, the biggest responsibility falls on the director of operations, right? Because if there's any potential weather issue, he's got to 360 to 180 this thing and say, hey, we're leaving on Thursday night to avoid any weather issues.
Stuff like that. But a couple inches, they're saying.
Yeah, for us, there's a million things going on and all kinds of noise, and brother, we're focused on one thing and one thing only, and that's the way it needs to be, and that's the way we're gonna be. So a little bit boring, and I get it, but that's the way we're gonna be, And I appreciate you guys, and I hope you guys have a happy Thanksgiving, and I hope you have your favorite foods. And